Good morning, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to thank Franchise India for bringing all of us together here. Like you can see, it's a stage with a lot of experience across different parts of the food service industry. And hence, it's a great opportunity for all of us to take advantage of this wealth of experience and understand how the food service industry is evolving, right? It's obviously a very exciting space to be, very fast growing, a lot of consumption changes, consumer behavior is changing, and we have innovation happening to cater to these changes, right? And therefore, the focus of this panel discussion is going to be around how the food service opportunity is evolving and how players are innovating to cater to these changes in consumption. So with that, I'll start from maybe the far end. Kalol is a lot more visible now. Thanks, Kalol. Right? So Rebel Foods, like you know, is someone. It's a format which is present across multiple brands, and therefore, Kalol, it'll be good to hear from you about how consumption is changing, how consumer behavior is changing, and what are some of the key opportunities that you see as you grow and expand your business. Prior to this discussion, we were just talking of some of the tier 2 towns, for example, and the opportunity around that. So it'll be good to hear from you, Kalol, on the food services opportunity.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much. For us, I think the key moment was COVID, where online ordering really took off. But a key development, I think, for that time was a work from home culture where a lot of people actually went back to their primary towns. So you had a lot of young folks from, let's say, Bangalore, Bombay, going back to smaller towns. And we find that they took our brands, Rebel Food brands, and the online ordering habit back to smaller towns. So today when we open a tier 2 town, the results are actually surprising, astounding, to be honest. And I was sharing earlier that our highest revenue kitchen in India is the one in Banaras. So I think there's a lot of pent-up demand, not enough avenues for consumption. So definitely we are back to putting kitchens in and exclusively in tier 2. So that for starters. But apart from that, we see a very definite shift towards health as a category. People want to know what's going into their food. They want to eat healthy. This is a trend which is today perhaps in certain pin codes, but increasingly catching on. So I think those are the two key ones for us.
Wonderful, right? And therefore, maybe a good segue is to talk about two things that you spoke about, right? One is tier 2 consumption and how it has changed. And second is consumer behavior itself, work from home and food delivery apps and the role that they are playing. Maybe Anjan, over to you next. You've seen this industry evolve over a fairly long period of time, and therefore it'll be good to hear from you, right, in terms of what is really panning out in the food service industry, and going forward, what do you think are going to be some of the big changes that are going to drive this opportunity?
Yeah, thanks. I think you rightly said that we started way back in 90s when nothing was happening in India. Even the fast food chains like McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Domino's, or KFC, none of them were there. So there was nothing happening in the food scenario, excepting the legendary hotels like ITC, who were Brigadier Rahman and the whole of it, building to do some great food work. I'm a big fan of ITC food. So that apart, I'm not talking 5-star. So in the standalone. So I personally feel that is the point of time we found an opportunity that standalone restaurants will be one day or the other leading the way for food revolution. seen it grow over a period of time. Obviously, I don't think I can write a book on what not to do in this industry, for sure. So all the wrong decisions, as you know, that good judgment comes from, mistakes over a period of time, the bad judgments you do. But I can say this to you, I've seen it evolving, disrupting, and rightly said by Kollol that we were fine dining and more of a little bit of takeaway. We were never a delivery model. We didn't understand that well. Pandemic taught us that. We took a little time to understand, and now it's around 28% of our sales. No offense meant to anybody here from Swiggy and Zomato. They're earning more money than us. So that apart. So वो दुख है हमको सबको यहाँ जो बैठे हैं aggregators जो the way they play up. So anyway, that apart, so it's become a completely, the store matrix have changed. The sizes of the store, which used to be 5,000 square feet, have become 2,000, 2,200 because smaller the restaurant, because once upon a time there was no competition. There was nothing, which was there in and around the first mainland China in 90s when it opened in Sakinaka. I don't think there was any competition whatsoever. And over a period of time, we've had 59 mainland Chinas. We are in, international destinations like Dubai, Muscat, Abu Dhabi, now in Australia, and we have a restaurant called Chaurangi in London. So what I see is that the West is being aped by India. There is one Bharat, one is India. Now, Kollol was talking about Bharat. I mean, I'm surprised that he's talking about the maximum number of, orders coming in from a city like Benares. So I will come back to the digital revolution, which one has seen over a period of time. Now, it's very difficult to, fool a consumer. It's very difficult because they're much more aware. They are aware to the extent that whether it's you can't do a menu without a vegan option or a gluten-free. There's no way that you can exist. So the awareness of health, which is maybe, becoming more and more important at one TG, I'm not talking about this, like he said, that will evolve. And also the fact that the consumer has become more adventurous. We started O Calcutta in 90s again, but O Calcutta had not too much of resonance. But now I see that, like I was talking to Vicky, we are going to be collaborating on a Sindh and Bengal kind of a fusion, which is very true because Pala Machi, which is Hilsa, I didn't know this till Vicky told me, that apart. So people are becoming adventurous, people are ready to try new things. Smaller formats are working. A new restaurateur today can enter because of the fact that there is a delivery. So he doesn't need to necessarily have a asset heavy base, which we used to have, and then can start it as a cloud and then build a restaurant if at all required. So everything around here seems to be completely disrupting and changing by the day, by the hour. I will call it the Uberization of food industry. So one day you will see that things will change furthermore.
Wonderful. So the Uberization of food industry is something that will stay with us as a concept. Now over to you, Maddie. A lot of international experience, one of the pioneers in the food services industry way back in the 90s. But you have seen Indian food brands really go global, right? And you played a big part in that. So how is food of India really perceived? And what do you think are the big opportunities when it comes to food? And how is it changing?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Anand. I'm sitting in front of you all because I started in a very small way, come from a very small town down south near Coimbatore, but came with nothing. But like today's topic says about innovation, that has brought me into 16 countries. Now I've taken about 180 restaurants over in 16 countries. All of them are Indian food. Unfortunately, COVID taught us nothing is certain, and we have to wind up, and now we are looking at 100 plus over in 16 countries, and we have about 40-50 units in Chennai. This was all possible because I used to think different. When everybody was making bread in a factory and bringing it and selling it, I put a glass wall and started making hot breads, selling in front of the public. And even my partners those days in '89 when I started, they didn't want to invest in a bakery because they thought bread is a sick man's food. But they didn't know from bread to rolls curry rolls, curry buns, today croissants. And we were proud to operate today 3 bakeries in Paris, selling coal to the miner, because we started innovating. We took the croissant, filled in chicken tikka into it. We filled in chana masala into it. And the French are going gaga. It's 25 years. Now I have 3 units selling these kind of products in Paris. So to the young entrepreneurs who are sitting there, innovation is a must, which he's talking about. And looking at the food scene internationally, like Anand was asking about, when I started opening bakeries, I was competing in Dubai. Dubai, we had 14 bakeries. We competed with the French giant Carrefour. With a union cooperative, they had hot breads with me, and we opened across each other. They were 100,000 square feet, we were 100,000 square feet of hypermarket. And I had to bring a Frenchman because Indians making baguettes and croissant was not acceptable in Dubai. So we have to have a couple of Frenchmen, even though at the background it was all our Chennai boys were doing it. As a show, they'll be walking around making pastries. The food scene now has changed because I said the growth of the bakeries internationally will be to this level. Then I looked at a niche market nobody had there, dosa concept. From one restaurant in 2000, now we have taken about 4 brands. They have about 152 restaurants in 16 countries. There'll be Saravana Bhavan, or Sangeeta, or Saranga. Tomorrow I have to fly out today because tomorrow I'm meeting another 2 youngsters who are techies. They've moved into the dosa place from Tanjore, one of the historical town in South India. They've taken over the father business. Even though they were making very good money in TCS, and one guy was with Aircel, a techie guy, they found making chutney sambar was more remunerative. They quit that, joined with the father. They have 3 restaurants. They'll be coming with me to Saudi Arabia to open. So the food scene has evolved a lot. Internationally, now if you go to New York, the best restaurant is not a Japanese or even a French. It's an Indian boy close to Anand's Trinelveli. He comes from Dindigul. What is he selling? He's selling intestine curry, brain masala. We used to call him, we know him earlier when he was in San Francisco. He was called the spare parts guy. He doesn't cook the main part. He takes the brain, he takes the liver, he takes the intestine. And he's been awarded the James Bayard's best chef. So on the winning podium, he stood there and says, when he won that award from James Bayard Foundation, he says, India stands tall, Tamil food stands tall, is what his first comment was. So people are accepting, the curry fever is going on, and we are opening more and more. Now I've retired, but in spite of my retirement, there are a lot of youngsters coming and asking me to help me, because over 30 years I've been outside the country helping people on pro bono, because money is not everything. We started with about 10, 20 people in Chennai in a little hut in 82, 83. In Chennai alone, we have about 1,000 people working. Internationally, with all this investment we have done with various 9 brands which we have taken. We found the niche, got into Chettinad food. We got into Kailash Parbat in New York in chart. We've taken them to Hong Kong. There are enough of Sindhis and Gujaratis in Hong Kong to eat out from the hand of Kailash Parbat. So like this, one has to find a market, position themselves properly, price it well, like McDonald's policy is what our policy is, fast and cheap. That's how we brought the success into our fold. Thank you, Anand, for bringing me today.
Thank you, Maddy. Thanks a lot. So that was very insightful, right? We are now talking sub-regional Indian cuisine. Chettinad was mentioned in terms of Anjapar, etc. Right, so we'll move to something very different. We've heard a lot from the folks who are in the food service business. Now, Anil, over to you in terms of restaurants, and how is it that at ITC you're looking at the entire opportunity around food, and any major changes that you're seeing in consumption, and how do you see to take advantage of this entire opportunity presented by food and restaurants?
So, first of all, I'm super impressed by these 3 gentlemen. I think you should give them a big hand for taking this, the entire Indian food journey to the world. It's not easy at all. And I can tell you that having spent 30 plus years in the industry, it's a work of art. And these are entrepreneurs who have the courage, who can take risks, who can move very fast and take this entire movement forward. 15 years back, or maybe about 12 years back, on a panel, somebody asked me that what will be the scenario for five-star hotel restaurants versus standalone, and my answer was very simple: nothing will happen to us. All right, because we did not see this entire movement coming. There's some amazing work which has been done, and some great brands that have been built and in front of us. But I think if you look at the post-COVID era, has been something very, very different. The consumption has certainly exploded in all forms. And one reason we attribute is to higher disposable incomes, a growing middle class, rapid urbanization. You are looking at things differently. And while the food and beverage scene in the standalone world has done extremely well, but I think that competition helped the five-star hotels also to up their game, and start looking at things a little differently. You had to innovate, you had to create, you had to stay in the game. Specifically, if I come back to ITC hotels, there are some great brands that we have built for the country. Bukhara is a 45-year-old restaurant, and then we have a lot of Peshawris across the country. We built a brand called Dampukt, which is fine dining Indian food, and that continued for quite a many years until the time came when we thought that we need to, just like he did something for Chettinad food, and I remember that we run a beautiful hotel in Chennai, and we wanted to take South Indian food to a different level. You were used to very delicious South Indian food, but we wanted to give it a little twist, and that's how we innovated, and we came out with a concept called Avartan, which Condé Nast last year rated as the #1 restaurant in India, and it also featured amongst the top 50 in Asia. And that's how we put up a team together in Chennai to get this act together. And that was, but the basic there was, I always told our chefs that don't worry about the plating, you first worry about the taste. Because plating today is going to a different level, this AI, automation, etc. But taste is something which you really need to work upon. I think they did a great job to put up a team together of youngsters who were creative, who thought differently than what we traditionally thought about South Indian food. And this became Progressive South Indian Restaurant. Today we opened 5 of them. We've taken it to all metros. In fact, we even took it to Colombo. And that is the kind of work that we have been doing. So I think we built some great brands in the past. The generation today is also trying to build something for the future, and we would continue to do that if you want to bring that kind of experience. But one thing I always say, that stay true to authenticity. Don't get carried away with the forms and because I think there's a generation which tweets before they eat. So it's not that, because sometimes it does happen that you're not building restaurants and brands for next 5 years or 10 years. I think when you build and you put this kind of effort, you build this for many years. We want these brands to last for 30, 40 years, in the industry, and that's the kind of effort that we are putting in. Yeah.
Wonderful, Anil. In fact, taste and people, right? I think you touched upon teams and how important it is, along with taste, which is what people really go to a restaurant for. And therefore, Akshay, you have a very diverse view, right? You get to see what all of these people are doing as a supplier to them. And plus, you also, as a brand by yourself, get to look at end consumers and understand how food preferences itself are changing, right? So it'll be good to hear from you in terms of critical trends that you're seeing in this industry. And specifically, you mentioned that it is growing very well. And therefore, what are the opportunities also that this room can take advantage of?
What I can reflect on, as a bystander to this journey, person who's deeply involved in helping chains, I would say, grow and exponentially. What I've seen is that there are brands that have done well. So very rightly, like Amit said, that you're not doing business for a year or two. It's for the long term. There's lots to learn from the journeys of success that are there around us, and particularly, I would say, You guys have chosen a wonderful panel today that embodies all these things. You're talking of Bukhara for 50 years, and all my co-panelists there have excellent examples. And then you see other chains that have grown dramatically in the last 20, 30 years. What are the principles that have established those businesses, sustained them? Food businesses, restaurant businesses in particular, touch the customer very deeply. And the relationship that the customer forms with the brand is quite intense and highly sustainable. It's also something that people need to, and entrepreneurs need to keep investing in. Journey of Bukhara is a journey of excellence. Over years, whenever I've had a dish, whether I've called in at home or gone to the restaurant, it's always the same. The specs are so, well laid out and controlled. But for a, establishment to do this over decades is, not easy and needs a deep commitment. So what I've noticed is that, establishments that have, stood to the, brand promise that they have given in various forms, whether it's quality, whether it's, in terms of, their customer experience. Those are the brands that are going to do well. They're going to become very, very large. My view on Indian food in particular and Indian brands in particular has become extremely bullish in the last few years. As India gains prominence, I am seeing a lot of chains from India expand globally. So the world is, our canvas today, and I see Indian brands propel themselves to other parts of the world as India gains prominence. So the stage really opens up for us.
Thanks, Akshay. So one of the key takeaways is to again stay authentic, right? That's something that you mentioned. And if you look at Gen Zs and millennials, they really place a lot of value on authenticity. So I'm going to go with that thought, I'm going to ask you, Vicky, you've set up a new restaurant recently. It's barely like 2 months since you set up Omni. So what were the inputs? What did you want to do differently when you set up a restaurant like this? How was it going to change the food scene? And therefore, what can we learn in terms of how consumption of food is changing? What are some of the new things that are really trending today, right? So would like to hear from you on Omni and how you went about setting the entire concept of Omni.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. And I think, I did, after 12 years, literally, I'm doing a restaurant where I got completely deeply involved and been working on it for the last almost a year. And generally when we ran restaurants in the past, like Oris and Nido, we were always on top of the game, the clientele was almost captive. Well, here now you have to you have to go, it's like game now, you have to hunt for them now to really keep them on your side. So when I was looking at Omni, and I'm from Mumbai actually, and this whole new area for me, Sector 58, Gurgaon, one armpit of the country. And I said, this is entirely like a new area. So, lovely buildings, there is money, but you don't know whether. So I looked at it from a consumer point of view, that if I would move here, what all I would expect to have in my local community or a community building. And in that area there was no place which was, I call my restaurant a global brasserie because it's slightly a little more, it's not very, very casual, it's slightly casual, but it's not snobbish. So at the same time, I think the menu was one of my main, I spent a year on the menu. And also doing a restaurant after 12 years, I wanted a place where I could put all my worldly experience of circumnavigating the world, working with 37 different nationalities, very comfortable with different styles of cooking and what's going on. So I said, what am I really good at? I think, what do people like? Of course, in India, people like Indian food. Then what about after Indian food? What do they like? So I said, so now then I started looking at what I would love to do in terms of trending. So I did a whole charcoal. I have two grills, veg and non-veg. You only have that in India. So it's inspired from the Argentinian Parrilla grill. And I have a charcoal oven as well. So I started putting global flavors. It's not just about barbecue, but this is fire cooking, which happens in different parts of the world, including India and Thailand, Japan, West Indies, Spain. So that became a prominent section of my menu. And then there were the pizza alla Roma, the Roman style pizzas, which not too many people do, different pastas. And then one of the most interesting part was that, okay, Vicky's journey has become around the world, but now what's the story? So now after you go all over the world, where do you land? You always land home. So I said there has to be some kind of a connect between or that time of travel and coming back home. So I have this section which is called the World of Pot, curries from far and near, where I wanted to give a little tasting of my mom's Sindhi recipes as well. So there is, it's not a mishmash, it's very aesthetically put together, but going back to, you would have people from the same family, from different age groups, and choices to come and eat at one table. That was the whole idea. So nowadays I have guests who are even like late 50s, early 60s. Plus I've got kids who are 11 and 12, their parents who are in their 30s and 50s. So I think the menu choices a bit to do with seasonality, sustainability, because today's consumer, they know it all. Before they come to a restaurant, they read the menu, they say, oh, they already know who's the chef. Oh, how's that dish on your menu? But you haven't been there, oh yeah, I know it. So I think the people are become conscious as well as conscientious of them. They want to see Indian food shine like the other food. If like how you have a Western food, that's the reason why Indian restaurants and Indian food abroad is not like a 5-pound, drunken or a hangover meal which you eat. The whole Indian food has become very aspirational. Sema is #1 in New York. You have great Trescend in Dubai has got 3 Michelin stars now. So I just feel that today food is about, it's very global. You have to be, you could have a global in terms of technique, the way you put your food, but I think the DNA cannot be altered. So I just feel that, making India proud, making your culture shine on the plate, traceability of your food, and of course, the whole tech-enabled aids which come with that, I think is the future.
Wonderful, Vicky. So global, right? Food is global. Food is getting Uberized. Stay authentic. Look at taste and people, right? So we've had a lot of insights in terms of how the food scene is evolving. Now, very quickly, we'll just move to the second section. I'll take about 10 minutes for this, so roughly about 2 minutes per panelist, is on the operating model, right? We've had a lot of talk about how the business model is changing because of consumption changes, but Vicky spoke a lot about the menu, about technology, about a lot of operating model elements, right? And this is a business which is very people intensive, which is very important to standardize things, right? And therefore, quickly around the panel, it'll be good to understand how the operating model is changing from a people, process, technology, all of these different elements that bring your business together, right? And therefore, we'll again start from you, Kalol. How is the operating model changing? What are some of the critical success factors that you think people in this room need to keep in mind?
Thank you. So interesting. I think the great thing about food is it's sort of winner-take-all model, and you can't eat the best food in the world every day. So that means everybody has a chance as long as you know what you're doing. I think that's the critical part. So for us, for example, the moment somebody has decided that they want to go out, we are not in the consideration set anymore. But from the point if you decide to order in, how do I get your attention? That's the game we play. So if you look at a restaurant business, what is, I mean, like a traditional off high street restaurant setup, your biggest problem is that you have two very busy patches. Once maybe lunch hour is about 30%, 70% will be dinner time, where you have customers who are sitting there, and you also are getting delivery orders. So what do? Who do you prioritize? So, and rest of the day you have the same stuff, but you don't have the orders coming in. So we came at it from that problem. That's how we have gone about creating our brands. We match the occasion. So there is something for breakfast, there's something for snacks, there's something for tea, and these are all different brands. That's our model. I think what's happening today is, and I think Jeff Bezos famously said, right, customers will always want it cheaper and faster. So we are seeing something in food delivery in 10 minutes, which is for our side of things. That for us is something we are taking very seriously. There is competition also from a Blinkit, a Zepto Cafe, and all of these guys. Now, most people outside of the industry don't get it about how can you make food in 10 minutes and deliver it. So let's not get into that. But we see this, and what can you make in 10 minutes is going to be samosas and Maggi maybe and something like that. But it's not. It can be much. When you go to a Dindigul biryani or the most, you are served in 2 minutes. Why? Because he already has anticipated that I will sell so much biryani. It's lying made fresh. It's fresh food. You get it in 2 minutes. So now, quick delivery does not mean snacks for us. It's a big threat. That's how it always happens in all innovation, right? If you look at how QSR happened, it's a reduced version of a fine dine. But you get it quick, the food is okay. It happened. So similarly, I think something is going on in this segment, which we are looking at very seriously. And this means a lot of analytics, a lot of data, because obviously you can't get the order and start cooking. So operating model-wise, this will mean, so the other thing that I wanted to mention is, Anjan also mentioned that they aggregate a bit, and we have our own ordering app, which is called Eat Sure. It does about 12% of our revenues. But more importantly, it helps a lot in menu planning. So for example, we started shawarma in Fasos. The reason we did that is we started looking, if somebody is coming to Fasos and going away, what are they searching for? They were searching for shawarma. So like this, I think we have, as an industry from the supply side of things, we need to have a sense of this data. And I think even for dine-in restaurants, we should be able to remember, why should a customer have to come and tell you every time I'm allergic to nuts? The restaurant should know. So those kind of things. I mean, finally, I think it's going towards personalization. It's already happened in movies, in music. Food will ultimately get more and more personalized. And I think brands will be the real mode.
So over to you now, Anjan. Operating model, how has it changed? What are some of the big changes you're seeing?
Yeah, I was talking about from the time we have started, we've seen a lot of changes. So what we identify is that with the advent of malls, which have happened over a period of time, and we are in 60% of the malls in India. I mean, in India, it's within our kind of revenue. So we see that there's a new animal who wants to eat during the day. That's the 4 hours of your dead investment, wherein you have only lunch and dinner. There is a new customer who wants to get into the mall and has ready to have a bite. So that's one thing which we have learned, and we are actually working very hard to do a very compressed menu, quick, absolutely within 10, 15 minutes, combos coming in from all kinds of, of course, combos have been historically a part of only the QSRs, but we have learned that, but we do have understanding coming in from a point that data is shown, like as you, Kollol rightly said, that you can't live without data. We used to have only 1.5 guys handling, Zomato and Swiggy. Now, if we do not understand this well enough, I think we should be, either you're a techie, and that's the reason food tech is getting a lot of money, and the techies are getting into this industry because they exactly understand kis waqt kaun sa khana kis tarah se order hota hai, patterns which are coming in, how many biryanis have gone from wherever, whatever. So we've started tracking it because of the delivery also growing, and I think that this operational leverage will come from a point of time that, one, internally you use these 4 hours, wherein you have a manpower cost, everything is absolutely fixed, but you use it, even if it means that it's around 10% of your turnover, that becomes absolutely, helps building the bottom line. And also the fact that all these dynamics which are changing by the day, by the hour, especially with the disruption of AI which has come in. Like he rightly said that I can sit down here and tell somebody a bot to do the needful and come back. And that's what is going to be happening. The left brain, and my understanding of ours, is going to be taken over by AI, which is becoming better and better. And the creativity stays where it is. So you have to ensure you have a balance of left and right brain. And, I really don't know what I'm saying today will not change tomorrow morning.
Thanks so much, Anjan. Reinforcing the point on AI, also the point on people, Maddie. You've seen how critical people are for this business. So how has attracting and retaining people really changed, right? And how do you think technology is something you can use?
See, mostly what we do is that, our friend was saying, we have put in a lot of technology into our bakery business now, because a curry puff or a vegetable roll takes a long time. So today, sitting in our office, out of the 28 stores I have in Chennai, what is sold out, every minute is recorded and thrown out, so the chefs can immediately rush something to that place. And coming back to the biryani preparation he was talking about, we have a brand called Paragon in Dubai. We sell about 1,800 to 2,000 plates in about 40 minutes. That's the most popular Kerala Malabar biryani. How do you do it? How do you predict? And every day is not Sunday. So what was sold last Sunday, what will be sold? So you got to do this permutation combination, get your AI together. So we put in a lot of implementation of this technology to study the sale, so adopt ourselves. Apart from it, the trend of the customer. Today in my cafe, we are selling matcha. I mean, people, the Japanese tea is selling hot, so we have to add on that, because, and then people are talking about protein. Protein is the in thing today, so you got to understand the customer's mood. Apart from it, we are talking about innovation. We also study about inclusion. Purchase with a purpose is what we have started in our cafe. We have brought in 15% of my employees are differently abled. They're acid burn victims, they're mentally challenged, they're transgender, they're single mothers. This morning I was at the hotel of Ms. Chera. I saw a hearing impaired boy there. Wow, that'll make me proud to go and spend money again. You're touching the people's heart. That's one thing. Even that helps me to retain my staff. Man, this gentleman who owns this business cares for community, let me work for him. So for a lot of people, money is not the only thing. So you got to retain him, so you do all this soft play. This is what I'll summarize. Purchase with a purpose and implementation of a lot of this tech to understand what product moves, when it moves, to give the customer what it wants.
Wonderful. And with that, Anil, over to you too. We've had demand recognition, pattern recognition in terms of trends. We've had issues around evening demand, right? So there are multiple areas where technology can make a difference. What are some of the things that you're changing from the way you operate the business itself, right? From a people, process, and
so
technology
I think one
standpoint.
big change which came about, especially for the 5 stars, was that before COVID, none of us really ventured out in, packed food.
Packed.
Yeah, we always said that if you want to have a great secondary run or a great biryani, you need to be sitting in the ambience and things like that, because we said you just don't pay for the biryani, you pay for the whole experience and things like that. But COVID actually gave us an opportunity to venture into that area. And we realized that when you had nothing to do, you started that journey. And we wanted to do it in a fashion that it doesn't stop post-COVID. So that's one thing which has changed dramatically, that a lot of our food now is available to a lot of homes. We do it ourselves. We also, take help of Swiggy and Zomato. We've opened our own app where you can place the order. So it has certainly changed our mindset a bit, and it's also given us a new revenue stream. And I believe it has great legs. It can, while you're competing with the rest of the world, but there is a space available for luxury dining. People are ready to pay you that kind of price if you got the packaging right, you got the delivery standards right, and things like that. So that's something which is dramatically changed. But coming back to the industry, I think we are still, luxury dining is still very people centric. We have not, it's not one machine which is making the number of breads or the tandoori chickens and things like that. There's a lot which goes in training people, and they learn it, over a period of time. So the biggest challenge is obviously retention. Well, we've been lucky at IDC Hotels that a lot of our staff has stayed back with us. A lot of our chefs, the world wanted to push them, but they realized that they have built this brand. So they need to be there, and they've supported us tremendously. And we also give a lot of support, a lot of respect to them and their food. And the biggest challenge would remain is consistency of quality of experience of food and service that we have to battle with on a daily basis. But India is a land of opportunities. One thing we all forgot, that India's canvas is very large. Our variety is far, far ahead of any other country in the world. Every 200 kilometers, the language and the food changes. So the scope is so much available. As long as you are able to invest time and effort to bring authenticity to the table, there is enough market available for all kinds of people.
Great, thank you for that on the people dimension too. So now over to you, Akshay. Yours is a business which again might require all of these consistency, the standardization. How is the operating model changing, right, to cope with all the changes in the environment, the challenges in attracting and retaining talent, the opportunity from AI and technology? How is the operating model changing?
No, changes at the operations in a factory. Of course, robotics, AI are going to impact every operation that we see. But what I'm noticing with respect to the restaurant industry in particular is that there's a lot of emphasis that I'm seeing on local chains are inching up and growing quite rapidly and developing supply chains, and the customers are, restaurant chains are quite fastidious, in the way, these are the successful people. And I am seeing this trend all over the country. So, there's a chain in Bangalore, let's say it has 5 restaurants, it's inching to grow up. It's getting particular about who its supplier is going to be. And when restaurant chain or a hotel is coming to Cremica, they are making a choice. It's not the easiest choice. It has to be based on a specification and on a particular ask. And it's that demanding customer that's doing well. And what I'm seeing, it's very refreshing that this small establishment is becoming very, very systems oriented and very supply chain oriented. They are fixing their specs. Like I made an example earlier about an Indian chain that is expanding globally. It's a pizza business. It can buy pizza sauce anywhere in the world, but it's choosing to keep the, offering standard across the chain and picking up the product from India and sending it all over the world. So those are the type of things that we are seeing making people succeed, and that trend is very visible.
Great, thanks for that, Akshay. Over to you, Vicky. In conclusion, how was running a restaurant, or how is running a restaurant different today compared to, say, what you did a decade back, right? And where do you think technology can play a role? Where do you think you can attract and retain talent better using modern processes and analytics?
I think it starts from motivating yourself first and keeping in trend and top of everything, because at the end of the day, it trickles from the top. So you have to show that, I mean, you have to be very enthusiastic and on the ball in order to inspire your people around you. You have to lead by example. I think it's very important. And the chef is not just who's writing menus and tasting food. I think that's just the beginning. Or I would say that's the mid process of the first is to see and forecast what kind of people is he going to cook for, what are their likes, what are their dislikes. Then there's a lot of information to read and information about food, techniques, equipment, controlling systems, I would call it a multi-diverse kitchen where it becomes an R&D hub, it becomes a delivery model, it becomes an a la carte restaurant, and it adds value adds. So I think you have to be multifaceted. Technology will always help you, but at the same time, you have to run your soul along with the technology.
Okay, so on that note, we'll end this discussion. Like you saw, a very experienced panel with a lot of insights. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences with all of us.